Matt Lenihan for Boxing Social in association with William Hill and Empire Fight Store. We're here in Poland. It's Oleksandr Usyk, Daniel Dubois. Sounds like a disco going off in the background, so I hope this doesn't get picked up. Spencer, talk to me about this fight. Interesting fight, what you say?
Yeah, massive fight. Firstly, I'll talk about Oleksandr Usyk. He got into the disco vibes as well, mate. Did you see him chucking some shapes in there? The guy is like loving this whole moment, like Independence Day, Ukrainian Independence Day tomorrow. The Ukrainians have turned out in force here. We're in an area where there's like 250,000 Ukrainians. The stadium on Saturday night, 43,000, is going to be packed. It's going to be a hostile atmosphere for Daniel Dubois. He knows what he's going into, right? I went to see him backstage before he come out and done his workouts tonight, Daniel. Had a little pet talk with him, just talking about opportunity, and this is what it's about. If you look at the heavyweight history, it's steeped in upsets, going back to, Mike Tyson, 1990, Lennox Lewis, Oliver McCall, Lennox Lewis, Hussein Rahman, even go Tyson Fury beating Klitschko in Germany, It's steeped with it. It's a huge opportunity for Daniel Dubois. He's learned from his loss. He's gone back, he's rebuilt, he's had fights, four fights since the Joe Joyce fight. And he says, look, I know what I've got to do. I've got to use my size, my physicalities, and I've got to stamp my authority early. I've got to close the space, and I've got to try and bully him a little bit. Because if anyone showed the blueprint, I think it was, you look at Derek Chisora when he started out, bullying a little bit, he gets a little bit uncomfortable. Anthony Joshua in the 9th round in the second fight out in Saudi, he had his successes. That's what Daniel's got to do. He's got to roll the dice early here. He can't see this as a 12-round fight, because if he does, Usyk's got incredible boxing IQ. If he gets into a rhythm, it's going to be a tough night for Dubois. We all know what Dubois got in front of him. We know how tough it's going to be. It's whether he can implement his size, his physicalities, early on in the fight.
Where would a Daniel Dubois win rank in terms of upsets in boxing? We've seen him over the years happen. I feel like he has been written off a little bit, and he's a big heavyweight. Yeah. Where would a win for him on Saturday rank?
It would rank right up there, mate. Because you look, Oleksandr Usyk is a modern-day great, undisputed cruiserweight champion, moved up to heavyweight. And what we saw in there today with Usyk, by the way, which I haven't seen, and we've covered a lot of his fights, is the size of him now. He seems to have developed, grown into a full heavyweight, but he's still got that elusiveness. He's a top-class fighter. This would rank up there. It would be one of the biggest upsets from a British fighter in boxing history, in my eyes. I think that's where we're at here. It's a huge, huge task he's got, Daniel Dubois, but he's heavy-handed, mate. He is heavy-handed, and if he gets in range and lands the shot, you never know.
Frank Warren must be licking his lips at a possibility of Daniel Dubois winning, because with everything that's gone on prior with Fury and Usyk trying to get that over the line, he must be thinking, must be a lot easier if they're both under the same banner.
Absolutely, of course he is. But like I say, I think Frank Warren's done a great job getting. It's a mandatory defence. Oleksandr Usyk's, got to take here. So there's no rematch clause involved in this fight either. And Daniel's just got to take the opportunity. That is what it's all about. This is all about opportunity. But I can't stress enough what pressure he's going to be under on Saturday night going into the Lions' Den. You know what I mean? And that's what it's going to be, man. It's going to be a hostile atmosphere. Hopefully Daniel can deal with that. He's got the experience now, and it's all about it's all about going out there and trying to implement the things that I've said.
Compare this to the Anthony Joshua fight. Anthony Joshua's had 2 fights now with Oleksandr Usyk. We saw how they both went. Yeah. In terms of danger for Usyk, would you class Daniel Dubois as similar, below? Where would you class that?
Yeah, well, he's similar because he's got that punch power. He's young and he's explosive, and he's got to use that. He's got to go in there and be willing to get knocked out to knock him out, and that's where we're at with it, right? Like Usyk, we know he's not the biggest puncher as a heavyweight, but his accuracy is brilliant, and his accumulation of punches, his boxing IQ is out there, man. It's outstanding. So look, it's a huge, huge task for him, it really is, but it would rank up there, man, definitely.
Talk to me quickly just about Anthony Joshua. A few people after the last fight saying we think that a couple of fights instead of the Dubois one, another couple of fights before the end of the Wilder one, sorry.
Yeah.
What do you think should be next for Anthony Joshua? Do you think he needs another fight before a Deontay Wilder? Saw Tony Bellew, I think, allude to it. David Hay. What do you think? He said he wants to be fighting as well before the end of this year. I don't know if that's just post-fight talk. What do you think?
Joshua is all about, inactivity. He hasn't played well for Anthony Joshua because he's lost confidence in his own ability. What he needed the other night was he needed a show-real knockout, and he got that. Forget that it took 7 rounds. He was controlling the space. He was taking his time. he's shown that actually being, from that reckless performance against Andy Ruiz, that he's now he's matured a lot. He's not going in there being reckless. He's taking his time and he took his opportunity. And the knockout was the most important thing because he hasn't had a knockout for a while. And I think that was really, really important in his own confidence going into this one. Do I think he needs another fight before going into Wilder? No. I think he's at that stage now. He's coming off that knockout win. That's what he needed. That's what he went in there to do. Helenius come out. He fought differently to what he did when he boxed Wilder. When he boxed Wilder, he went out there and Helenius was quite aggressive. And Wilder, if he hits you, you're going to sleep. Anthony Joshua goes in, he's got to control that space, he's got to put Wilder on the back foot. Fury showed that that's how you beat him. Put him on the back foot, but you've got to be educated, you've got to be willing to sit in the pocket. And I think that what Joshua's done whilst he's been with Derek James out in the States is he started to learn defensively. Defensively he looked better, his footwork looked better. And and he got in range and he landed a shot. He grew in confidence as the fight went on. He was holding his feet, throwing the shots. But as the fight was going on, he started stepping in with his shots. He's got to move his feet, but get into range before he lets the punches go. And I think that's what he took from it. And I think now he can go into the fight with Wilder January and get it on. I want to see Anthony Joshua prove all the critics wrong. I want him to become a 3-time world heavyweight champion. This kid's journey's been insane. Where he's come from, where he's got to, that whole journey along the way. He's given millions of kids globally, hope.
And British boxing as a whole.
And British boxing. He's transformed British boxing. That is a fact. You know what I mean? That is a fact. He transformed from the London 2012 Olympics. He gave loads of kids hope and he transformed boxing. He brought it to the mainstream. So he needs to be given credit for that. Unfortunately, he's not.
Quickly, I've got to get your opinion on what happened yesterday. I wasn't there because I was travelling here, but looked an absolute circus. KSI, Tommy Fury and all this carry on. I know it's a bit away from the traditional boxing events that you're used to, but talk to me about it. Big John had a good go at kicking a few tables. What do you make of it?
Listen, it was all a little bit WWE. I didn't know if it was staged, not staged. I saw Big John actually today make an apology for his behaviour. He said emotions got the better of him, etc., etc. And I'm glad that he done that, to be fair, because with that whole KSI thing, Tommy Fury thing, you've got a younger audience. The demographic is different. You've got a younger audience there, and these kids are looking up to their idols and watching them. Boxing's the umbrella of it all, but it is WWE/boxing really. And I'm glad that John apologised because kids are watching that, and it weren't acceptable behaviour, but he recognised that he'd done wrong, and fair play to him because he apologised for it. But it's always a circus, isn't it? That whole misfits boxing, YouTube boxing, whatever you want to call it, it's always a circus. And it's entertainment. The world's changed, man. And they're using, like I say, they're using boxing as an outlet to do what they're doing, and that's good because all the young kids are watching them, and I'm sure that you're going to get some of them transform into boxers, so it's great for the sport. But I think it just needs to be reined in a little bit. It's too WWE for me, and it needs to be controlled just a little bit more because it's all getting a little bit out of hand.
Spencer, I want to touch on something else. Alycia Baumgardner, do you want to just talk about that very quickly? In sort of the last 18 months, we've seen a lot of things to do with failed tests. We won't go into it all on that, but just on that specific case, what do you make of it? It's disappointing. Very disappointing, mate. Very, very disappointing. I mean, we can't go too much into it because I think the way that it was handled was disappointing. She got tested 3 days before. They found out a month after. You go, really? And I get the whole process and everything else, but look, what's the point in the testing if that's going to be the case? No point in doing the test because the fight had happened. Now, in the event of that fight, what if her opponent had been tragically killed in the ring? And then what? What, is she up on a murder charge or what? What I'm saying is, if you get tested 3 days before, you need to get the results back before they step in the ring. So I respect what Matchroom are doing, and they're saying, listen, we're doing everything we can, we're bringing in more testing, etc., etc. But it's still not right yet. We're still away from that. But with more testing coming in, more people are getting found out. We've got to clean this sport up, man, because like I say, lives are on the line, and it's important that we get it right. And it's still clearly not right. 100%. Look, Spence, thanks for giving me some of your time. I know you've got other duties as well, so I appreciate it. We'll catch up later in the week. Lovely. Cheers, mate.